Seuling time. I do believe it's your turn to remember Jeff Seiler. It is. But my good buddy Steve Swenson found Jeff's personalized copy of The Strange Death of Alex Raymond, California Test Market Edition on eBay, along with an unsigned copy of the SDOAR preliminaries. That'd be from your SDOAR Kickstarter, I believe.
Correct.
And please hold for Dave Sims, MJ Sewell. Let me know. Hey there, Manly Matt. Instead of any asymmetrical or heated speculation, I wanted to let you know personally that I was the one that purchased Jeff's personal copy of Strange Death of Alex Raymond, signed edition on eBay, in case anyone in the universe cares. Well, if anybody in the universe cares, it's probably going to be here on Please Hold for Dave Sims.
Ed Zachary.
And as your inscription was to Jeff, a toadstool among the mushrooms. Maybe you want to re-explain the meaning of that. I think we covered this once before for Mike, or not. It does ring a bell. It's I can tell you that the last time that it came up, I went, oh, I got that from Phil Seuling. That was in one of the New York Comic Con program booklets, and it was Phil Seuling writing. I'm pretty sure it was Phil writing his own little autobiographical note, and mentioned that Phil Seuling is a toadstool among the mushrooms. And I went to find it. I went, okay, it's either in the 1978 program, which I've got because that was the year of the Studio Guys, so it's got a really nice Kaluta BWS Barry Windsor Smith Jeff Jones cover on it, or it's from the 1979 program booklet because I'm in that one. And Wendy Beanie is in that one because Phil played us up really big as new indie comics phenomenons in 1979, and did a disproportionate job for two people who probably 2 years before would have been thought of as fanzine people. So I don't know where I read it, but yes, it was Phil Seuling that wrote it. And okay, we go. Well, looking at that, I can let Jeff explain it from a message he left in the Yahoo group about the Ye Bookies of Cerebus art show in Olean, New York in 2005, originally titled, quote, Two Queens Smoking, unquote. I ordered my meal and then attempted to join the conversation, but found that Al, Jeff, Dave, and M. Who's M in this? Did you figure that one out?
Margaret.
Oh, Margaret. Okay. We're way over my head. And this is another Jeff. This isn't. This is Tundis instead of Jeff Seiler when he's referring to Jeff.
Correct.
At some point during the meal, Jeff remarked that I was, quote, really good at talking with strangers, unquote. A thinly veiled reference to the, quote, stray puppy unquote, I adopted at Space. And we're not going to go all the way through that story, but that's a really good Jeff Seiler story.
I think we've already did that story.
Yes, we did at considerable length, because I didn't know that one. Dave then remarked that, as someone had once said in a different context, Jeff is a toadstool among mushrooms, and it was actually among the mushrooms. I responded, I'm not sure whether that's a compliment or an insult, but it's interesting. Dave said you can take it however you want to. Upon lengthy reflection, I took it as a compliment of a kind, as I thought that it meant that I tend to stand out in a crowd. Jeff Tundis told me on Tuesday, however, that it was referential of my efforts to help people up, to be a servant to people in the biblical sense. I don't know for sure, but knowing Dave, I suspect it was not meant to be an insult. The more you think about it, the more it's very hard to tell, because it could be either a compliment or an insult, depending on what the relationship is between toadstools and mushrooms, which we don't know, because for the average person, it's like a toadstool is just a different kind of mushroom. Mushroom, toadstool, toadstool, mushroom. No real big difference. On the other hand, if toadstools are superior to mushrooms in some completely objective sense, then it becomes whatever that Latin expression is, first among equals. The pares inter pares, or whatever it is. Or it could be, at the outside extreme, Lord of Lords and King of Kings, which is, two of the titles that Jesus is known by in Revelation. Or it can be the black sheep. He's in a world where everybody is either a mushroom or trying very hard to be a mushroom. This guy is just a relentless toadstool. And, I'm not sure that there aren't degrees of that are strictly perception. That somebody that you think of as first among equals, somebody else is going to think of as the black sheep, the exception, the contrarian. So it's interesting in that sense, because when I read it, I thought that's actually a very effective and astute description of Phil Seuling, because he probably falls into both categories. If I had to say, if there was a first among equals, particularly in what we all owe to Phil Seuling for starting the direct market, he would be probably without peer in the sense of nobody actually had to do what he did, and it took a lot of chutzpah to do what Phil Seuling did, but he went ahead and did it, and literally started the direct market just by saying, what if I go to Saul Harrison at DC and say, what if I buy the books non-returnable? So every book that I order from you, I give you cash for it, and that's it. We're all done, as opposed to the newsstands where you have to wait and see how many unsold copies there are, and they get deducted from the sold copies. As Mike Kaluta once told me, it's like inventing the wheel. It's pretty simple until you're trying to invent something that wasn't there in the first place. So in that sense, definitely Phil Seuling is in the first among equals category. But then Phil Seuling was also the school teacher in that situation who, as this was all just falling together, once he tipped over the first domino, and he was the New York City Comic-Con guy and the major retailer in Brooklyn, and then became the founder of the continent-wide direct market, quit his job as a school teacher and shacked up with one of his students who was about the same age as his two daughters, Heather and Gwen. And it's like, okay, well, that's a different category. That's a toadstool among the mushrooms where, no, we kind of prefer our mushroom qualities, and that seems like toadstool behavior. That was Johnny Leavis, who was also the vice president of Seagate Distributing. If you look at the really early back covers of Cerebus, if you're lucky enough to have those, and you see the full Phil Seuling ad that Dennis Kitchen drew, you see that Phil is, the guy in the sort of like Commodore's uniform, marching at one end of the parade, and at the front of the parade is this little girl with a little hiked up skirt that says, I believe, Johnny on it. And it's like, that was one of those, people have trouble understanding what that time period was like. And all we can keep saying is, it was a different time period. It's, when you met Phil, or when you were, staying at his house or whatever, then you just found out, oh, he used to be a school teacher, and now he's shacked up with one of his former students and is divorced. And the student is about the same age as his daughters. It's like, we don't want to be judgmental about these things. Everybody's got their different idea of how they want to live. It's like, no, that's way, way, way over the edge. But not at the time. At the time, it was, we were all trying to prove to each other and to ourselves that we can all be adults about this, which meant putting up with and tolerating and enabling really, really dysfunctional social behavior. So there you go. On that's where my mind goes when somebody asks about toadstool among the mushrooms. It's that's where it came from, and that's why I thought it was a really apt description of Phil Seuling, who coincidentally enough turns up again in one of the later questions that I'm holding in my hand here. It was Jeff riffed on that when he did the plaque that I've still got here on my desk in the rectangle office. Let me go over and check it. Hang on. To Dave Sim, a sequoia among the evergreens. And that was on my plaque for my 50th birthday that you all surprised me with in Columbus at the space show that year.
I forgot that. I remember we gave you a plaque, but I forgot what it said.
I don't forget, because it's always sitting there, right there. It's always there to remind me. Well, go ahead.
So in my space photos, I have photos from the party, and Paula had the camera, was taking the photos, and there's a photo where I'm smacking my head because I obviously forgot something, and every time I look at it, I'm like, I remember doing it, but I don't remember what I forgot.
Well, smack yourself in the head again, then. You deserve another one for that.
I always thought the answer was going to be, well, it's from the end of Rick's story, Matt. It's what Bear says to either Marty or Richard.
Richard George.
Yeah, Richard George. And because when I went in my email, I typed in Toadstool just to see if I had the message that I sent. And one of the other messages that popped up was there was a blog and mail where you apparently had talked about selling off original art, and Jeff had commented that he had called you and left a message saying, or called you and talked to you and said he really wanted to buy that page from Rick's story, but with the way the original art market was back then, he didn't think he could afford it, and your response was, we'll make an offer and we'll let you know if we're willing to do it.
Right.
And I'm going, knowing Jeff, he never made the offer, because it probably, he may have been able to squeak one in, but, if you sold 10 pages and made a bunch, maybe the 11th one would go for cheap.
Yeah, That's always a balancing act. Even back then, even now, it's the closest I will ever have to Apple stock or something like that, where whatever else I do, the artwork goes last because the artwork is actually appreciating in value, and everything else I do, it's like the gang that couldn't shoot straight. We'll get into that later on as well.
Okay.